Legendary circumnavigator D. Kafari found infamous Hawaii sailor Jennifer Appel's boat 360 miles east of Guam, while the Ocean Racer led her team on leg 6 of the Volvo Ocean Race between Hong Kong and Auckland, New Zealand. Major networks have covered the story of the Hawaii sailors rescued 900 miles from Japan by the U.S. Navy. Stay tuned all the way to the end. You'll get the results of new GPS data from their trip, and you'll hear Jennifer Appel's interview with the U.S. Coast Guard after the disaster, where they criticize her failure to use an EPIRB. Subscribe to Slowboat Sailing, where you can watch our round the world vlog series and learn how to go on the cruise of your dreams. 5-time circumnavigator, Volvo Ocean Race skipper, and first woman to sail east and west nonstop around the world, Dee Kafari, wrote about the incident in a blog, which I'll read to you. Like the skipper of the Sea Nymph, Ms. Kafari was a Slowboat Sailing podcast guest. Ms. Kafari writes, "What should you do when you see a yacht floating with no signs of life?" Well, that question was asked on board Turn the Tide on Plastic yesterday. We were sailing within sight of Brunel, and to weather we saw another yacht close to our track. We looked through the binoculars as there was no sign on the AIS software, and we contacted Race Control. We called on the VHF with no response, and Race Control confirmed there was no active search and rescue in the area. We sent up a drone with James, our onboard reporter, for a closer inspection to get some identification for the vessel. We collected some images and sent them back to Race Control, and they confirmed the vessel was the abandoned vessel Sea Nymph. Many may remember a big news story in the U.S. last autumn regarding the rescue of 2 women. Well, this was that vessel all 3 months later. She was sitting pretty low in the bow, and her mainsail was washed over the side, but the rest of her looked like she would make a nice cruiser. We discussed salvage rights for a while and estimated that Race Director would not give us redress if we towed her to Auckland while racing. So there she sits, a hazard to shipping, a risk to islands, reefs, and atolls, and slowly not going anywhere. We are grateful we saw her during the day, as this could have been a very different story. Had we come across her at night, she was floating stern to us with no lights or signal being given out. There is no way we would have seen her. I just hope now we have given authorities her position, there is a chance for salvage or for scuttling her to prevent a far worse disaster in our oceans. We are asking you to not litter the oceans with plastic, and here we have a whole yacht floating aimlessly in our oceans. Signed, D and Team Turn the Tide on Plastic.
Following close behind Brunel, we saw another mast in the distance, which as we approached to about 5-6 miles, we could see was a cruising boat with no sails up. And luckily we had a drone on board, and we sent that over, and we took some pictures of the boat and video, and came back, had a look at it, and recognized it was a boat called Sea Nymph, and that had been abandoned last summer, in quite a high profile case where 2 women had got off the boat, and they were on the TV news, and America especially. Then we knew that there wasn't anyone on board. We checked with Race Control, and they confirmed that was the boat. And so we went close by, and you could see that it was the boom was broken, the sails were down, and there was no one on board. So we carried on, and hopefully someone can go out and salvage it and clean that boat up off the ocean.
When we saw you guys coming over the horizon, it was like, oh God, we've been saved. It was the most amazing feeling, because we honestly did not believe that we would survive another 24 hours in the current situation. We had no idea what to expect, but when we saw that big gray ship coming, it was just relief.
It was. We thought we had it bad during the entire trip, and then that 24 hours of being towed. Kid you not, that was the scariest moment in the entire trip. And when we saw you guys, it was like, are we gonna be saved?
Obviously, 3.5 months later, Their boat is still floating. They obviously weren't within 24 hours of sinking in practice.
Up in a force 11 storm that night, and that's roughly 50 to 70 mile an hour winds and waves in the 20 to 35 foot category, and that lasted for 3 days and 2 nights. Stuck it out through the 40 to 50 foot sharks that broke somebody else's boat.
Ms. Appel was caught in a lot of fibs on national TV, including some monster-sized sharks that don't exist and a Force 11 storm that never happened. You should check out our earlier videos that take you through all those things. But in this video, we'll tell you about a new fib that she's been caught in, about her handheld GPS proving her tale.
15th, the Coast Guard says that on an unrelated search mission, they had received a phone call from some friends or family members of yours saying, we haven't heard from these ladies. So they got into radio contact with a boat that was called the Sea Nymph. They heard back on the radio from people who said, we are the crew of the Sea Nymph, we're fine, and we should get to Tahiti tomorrow. You say your GPS shows you were nowhere near Tahiti. Who did they talk to?
I have no idea, but Garmin makes a great product, and this is one of the GPSs that we had on our Sea Nymph, and it shows that we were nowhere near Tahiti. We were
you never spoke to the
Sailboat Sailing obtained the GPS data from Jennifer Appel's handheld GPS and analyzed it, and it only had roughly 48 hours of data right before she was rescued. It shows them drifting at about 1 knot until they were towed at a speed of about 4.5 knots for about 15 hours, and then they drifted for over 6 hours waiting for the U.S. Navy. It does not speak to the assertion that they were nowhere near Tahiti on June 15th because it only has 2 days of data from late October. Stay tuned for a Slowboat Sailing exclusive where the Coast Guard questions Ms. Appel about her trip in never before released audio.
Coast Guard District 14.
Hey, Chief, this is XO of Ashland. How you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, Commander. I'm good.
Hey, so I was told that we need to call. Is he around?
So he is our SAR mission coordinator. We will grab him, but really what we need is we need to talk to the 2 survivors you guys have on board and do what's called a survivor debrief. We're going to go through a series of questions and kind of get a better picture of what happened since they left Hawaii.
Okay, they are sitting right here, and I've got you on speakerphone, so if you're ready to go, fire away.
All right, give me 1 second, okay? He's on his way. Okay.
Okay, we left her at 1:57, so we're not even on the map at the moment. She's out of the path.
All right, so once again, this is Coast Guard District 14 in Honolulu. Our SAR mission coordinator, he's walking in now, but we'll go ahead and get started. So, do I have
You have Jennifer?
Jennifer? Okay.
Aloha.
Aloha. I'm glad you guys are all right.
So are we, and we greatly appreciate everything that you did in the coordination and, well, frankly, everything that you did for us and everything that you do for all the sailors out in the Pacific.
Okay.
So who are they on the line with?
So we've got myself, our district response, and our SAR mission coordinator.
Thank you very much. Is it Lieutenant Commander or Commander?
Lieutenant Commander.
Okay, gotcha.
A few more days. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is I kind of just explain what happened. We have our last documentation was you guys left Hawaii around the 3rd of May. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then on the 5th, you called Mayday, and we had a C-130 go out and talk to you guys. You were about 130 miles south of the Big Island, and you had lost your satellite phone over the side. Is that correct?
Negative. The sat phone was not functioning. We could not get it to connect. We figured it was due to weather and did not realize that it just flat was not working. At the time when we called in, we believed that we had a working antenna because of the distance between the, I think it was, I can't remember. We were, oh, this is we were roughly 270 miles out, and when we called you, we believed that we had that kind of range. We did not realize that we only had 1 mile of ability with the antenna, or had, when the plane showed up.
And you're talking about your VHF radio.
Yeah, well, the VHF was, that antenna handled the VHF, the WeatherSat, the SSB, the ham radio, and the radio telephone inside the boat. So we had nothing, and I did not know it. And the reason I did not know it is because when the storm started, I leashed myself into the cockpit, and I stayed there for 80 straight hours, sailing the boat through that storm. And I never went downstairs.
Ma'am, are you talking about early May still?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is the first call when we went down there. This is the incident that caused that to happen.
Yes, and had I realized that all of our comms were off, we would have accepted the invitation to turn around. And I really honestly wish that he would have said, hey, lady, you're tired, you're exhausted, you really should turn around and come back and get everything checked out. And I would have accepted that. But all he said is, are you okay? And at the time I thought, yeah, dude, look at what we just went through. I'm not going to turn around and go back through that again because I was psychotic. So it was just a communication failure, 100% on my part, for not understanding y'all's intentions.
Okay. And where did you guys leave out of? What port in Hawaii did you leave out of? You hear me?
Yes, we left from the Alawai.
Alawai, and that was on the 3rd.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, give it a second before you respond, because there's a delay because of the satellite.
So the first part of the distress started on the 5th, and then you didn't realize there was damage to your antennas. You were able to talk to our C-130, but you didn't realize that there's a significant range degradation with your equipment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so from then, what happened from then? You started proceeding south to Tahiti?
That was, yes, that was the intention.
Okay. So how long after the 5th did you become disabled?
See, I'll tell you here. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. On the 14th, we entered a partial storm, and it tore apart the jib. The 15th, we got into another really bad storm. The 16th on the night, we got into a storm. We were still calling you guys every day, getting the positions, and we did not know that you didn't realize it. On the 15th, that the spreader actually bent the bolt at the root, and that started to shake so bad that we could not exceed more than about 4 knots. And at that point, we determined that it would be closer to go to Christmas Island and see if we could stop there in order to fix it, not realizing that the boat had a draft that was too large to enter their lagoon or even pull an anchorage in a safe location there.
So did you get to Christmas Island when you realized that? Or
Yes. We sailed literally a complete donut around there for 2 days trying to get communications with them.
and what days were you in the vicinity of Christmas Island?
A second. Christmas is...
I got to backtrack the whole. Yeah, I think we're moved in.
Yeah, I'm just looking for... Oh, we were already... But see, on the 15th, we were at north 2 degrees 44, west 155.57. So we had already passed Christmas by then. Look at that. I think it was... You can track it, I'll tell you. The 5th, on the 5th, we were at north 17, west 157. On the 6th, we were at north 15, west 157. 7th, north 14, 157. 8th, north 12, 157. 9th, we were at 11, 157. 10th, we were at 9, 156, 41. On the 11th, we were at north 7, west 156. The 12th, north 6 degrees, 155. 13th, north 4, 155. 14th, north 3, west 155. 15th, north 2, 155. Tuesday, the 16th, north 1, 156. And Wednesday, Wednesday the 17th, we were circling Christmas Island.
That's May 17th, you were circling Christmas Island.
Yes, I have no operator leaving message. We circled them for from noon on the 17th through 9:45 on the 18th in the night.
And would it be possible for you to, it sounds like you're reading off of a deck log of some sort. Would it be possible to get that emailed to us, like a scanned copy to email, so we could kind of have that documentation to kind of retrace your steps a little bit? Would you be comfortable with that?
At this point, we had a lot of stuff damaged during the storm, and we don't have the ability to scan an email right now. It looks like her log is pretty thick, too, so it would take some time to even have it transcribed.
Okay, that's okay.
Maybe do that when we return to Honolulu.
That's okay. That's good. So, did you ever get anywhere near Tahiti? That you know aware of? So Christmas Island is as far as you got before?
No, in Christmas we ended up making it past the equator, and by the 26th of May, we were at 6 South 157. We then, let's see, we got into some really nasty squalls for the next couple of days with 10-foot high plus waves, but really vicious 30-plus winds, and we tried to tighten the rigging. We're working our way towards the top of the Cook Islands, and we decided that we needed to, there was no way we were going to get help in that area because the sandbars that are, and the atolls that are called islands were too small for us. So we started to proceed north, and upon moving north, by the 4th of May, we were at north 1 degree, 159.
June.
4th of June. We were at north 1, west 159, and we found out why no one ever returns from the Devil's Triangle. We had a pod of 5 tiger sharks who were teaching their 2 young babies how to hunt. We spent the next week being hunted by them and attacked by them. We finally picked up a north wind that brought us out on the 10th of June to North 5, West 158. From there, on there.
So, ma'am, at any point after the 5th, at any point, did you have any interaction with the Coast Guard? Did you hear anybody making call-outs for you, or any interaction whatsoever with well?
I think it is. By the 26th of June, we were at North 846, 156.51. We were 758 nautical miles from our point of beginning, and we realized we needed to tow back in, and we called every single day from the 26th of June until 3 days ago, trying to get assistance.
And those calls were made on your VHF radio on channel 16?
Yes. From the North 846, 156, we managed to direct the boat to Wake Island. We came within 2 nautical miles of Wake Island on October the 1st. We almost reefed on Peacock Point. We talked to the radio operator at the calling center. We were under the impression that they would assist us to get into their harbor, and they never showed up.
Tell them
We
that you
clawed off that reef.
did you tell them that you had been lost at sea for all this time?
Yes, they did understand that.
That was on October 1st, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
From Wake Island, we proceeded to go north to North 32. I believe it's 157 east. And we were going to attempt to pick up, hopefully, one of the southern edges of one of the northeast swells that was going to bring us back over the top of the French Frigate Shoals and back around to North Shore Oahu. And since I've been surfing North Shore for the last 10 years, I kind of knew what to expect, but I did not understand that Whiskey 26 was the size that it is.
Okay.
So we were incredibly lucky there. The current and the wind stopped us on October the 8th, which was our day 166 at sea and our tow call at over 90 days. And because the wind stopped and the current was actually pulling us backwards in a southwest position at about 3.5 knots, we decided that when we could pick up some wind, we would drop south, and that's when I saw the Taiwanese fishing vessel. And in fairness, the fishing vessel had no interest in helping us. The only reason they did, sad to say, was that I got up on the bow of the boat, and when they realized that I was a 120-pound blonde girl and that there were no men on the boat, they agreed to help us. Only the help that they gave us was to run into the bow of the boat to destroy the anchor pulpit, the bow pulpit, the lifeline, crush in part of the retainer that held the forestay onto the boat, and I honestly believe that they were trying to kill us. We are so grateful that the Navy was available to assist us, because their help, they had a 100-ton metal boat against our 25-ton fiberglass. And I believe that they knew exactly what they were doing to us.
Okay. All right, a few other questions here. Did you guys have an emergency beacon, like an EPIRB or a PLB on board?
Yes, sir. It is registered.
You tried to activate
We did not
it?
use it. No, because up until the time that we realized we were in more distress from the tow, we felt safe. We had limited mobility with sails. We could use about a half to somewhere between a third and a half of the jib. We could use the main on third reef only, and as long as the winds were less than 15 knots, the amount of am steel that I used to hold the rig together was sufficient to maintain structural integrity while we proceeded on course.
Okay, and you said
I
up
did not
until
feel that
when?
we were in imminent danger until we got the tow from the Taiwanese fishermen.
Okay. Oh, you said up until when you didn't think you were in distress? Well, at what
Until we
point?
met the tow guys, we were fine. Once we got the tow, we were in real trouble.
Okay. But you said you were trying to call out to everyone to try and get help from, when was it?
8156. Yeah, from right below Maui. We were 700 miles away from Maui.
Okay. All right, is the EPIRB still on board the vessel?
Yes, sir.
I don't suppose you have the ID number for that beacon in case it does get activated, so we're able to correlate it to you guys, to that vessel.
It's listed under Tracy Ann of Lahaina, because I never changed the name on it. And you know what? I do have that. I just do not have that in front of me at this moment.
Okay, you said it's registered to Tracy Ann?
Yeah. I got the boat from Lars Bertelsen. He's the Commodore of the Lahaina Yacht Club.
Lars, what's the last name?
Lars Bertelsen. I believe it was registered to a Tracy Ann McIntyre, McIntyre. Or, never mind.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. 1 second.
She's the co-op? She's the granddaughter. Okay. Yes. Why? She's the sorry.
And a couple more questions about your EPIRB. That was on board the boat when you bought it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know when it was registered? Or was it,
I did it.
It was, yeah, do you have any idea when it was registered?
It was registered in January of 2015, and I re-registered in, I think, March or April of this year.
March or April, okay.
I do have that paperwork because I grabbed my file of every single penny I've ever spent on that boat, and it's about 6 inches thick. I just didn't bring it with me to this call.
And
we can email that information to you after the call if you like.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. And anything and everything that you guys are able and willing to send for us to have good documentation on this, we would thoroughly appreciate. And ma'am, can you explain one more time why you did not activate the beacon earlier?
I believe that we had the ability to make it to some harbor or landfall, just like we made it to Wake Island. And had we had a little bit of assistance to get into their harbor, we would have been fine on October 1st. I could have repaired the damage on my own.
Okay.
I just needed a safe place to do it. And I didn't see any reason to call for an emergency life flight for 2 people and 2 dogs who had food, water, and a structurally integral hull who had limited mobility. I believe that EPIRBs are used, hail calls are used when you know you are in imminent danger, and that's it.
So you did not feel like you were in distress until right before?
We knew that we were distressed, but we did not feel like we were going to die within 24 hours. up until the tow.
Okay. Understand. Understand.
And if we had called you during the shark attack, you wouldn't have gotten there before one of them busted the hull if they were going to anyway.
Yeah, well, you never know, ma'am. It's definitely a big ocean, and it is hard to get places. But I'll tell you what, this office handles several 406 alerts every day, and if you would have activated that, it would have come directly to this office, and it would have been helpful for everybody. So in the future, if you do this again, you don't have to think of that as your last lifeline. I mean, that can be, if nothing else, it's just a way for us to figure out where you are and start making up calls to help you. You know, it doesn't mean we're going to go out, we're going to send everyone at you and pull you off the boat. It means it notifies us of a situation in our area of responsibility, and we can figure out what the best way to help you is. Does that make sense?
Understood and greatly appreciated, and I apologize for my ignorance.
Well, at the end of the day, it worked out. We're very glad you guys are okay. So that's the most important thing. One second. Do you happen to know what the manufacturer of your beacon was? If not, that's okay. If you've got the stuff and you can send it to us later, that's fine.
Okay.
So essentially, the damage to the boat was early May, and it affected basically all of your communication equipment.
Yes, all the communication equipment, the spreader, the backstay, the forestay. We lost the starter on the motor when the cockpit got swamped in the white squall, and then the physical damage to the bow and the deck to hull joint during the tow.
Okay. All right. And so did you ever come across any other vessels at all? Anybody before a couple days ago that you talked to or anything?
We hailed but did not receive. We did fire a total of 10 flares at boats that we could visual on the horizon, and we did not receive assistance or confirmation via radio in any of those situations.
Did you happen to document when and where you were when you shot those flares?
Absolutely.
Is that something that you're easily able to find, or something that we can just track down later with you guys when you're back?
If we could wait until I can produce those logs for you, that would be awesome. It's all in there. It's just I don't want to take too much of the captain's time.
No, I understand, and I appreciate everyone's patience on the line. This is extremely helpful for us. And I know you can't tell me exactly, but can you roughly when you guys are going to be back in port?
It's storm dependent. Right now we've got 27 Whiskey. The tropical storm is right ahead of us, and it's delaying our arrival into Okinawa.
Okay.
We were scheduled to pull in, and that date's been pushed back. And then once they arrive, we've already made arrangements through the American consulate to have them picked up, gone through immigration, customs, and the dogs have to be quarantined, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, yeah. And so,
in addition to that,
okay.
In addition to that, we talked to the American consulate about seeing if they could identify a salvage expert to recover their boat. Their boat is, well, when we left the boat, it was 1,000 nautical miles southeast of Tokyo and approximately 1,500 miles northeast of Okinawa.
Okay. All right, and the intention is for them to fly off and back to Hawaii as soon as you guys are in and clear customs and all that?
Actually, I don't know. They would have to answer that for you.
To the U.S. Coast Guard, that was our home for the last 2.5 years. So I would like to recover the vessel, to repair the vessel, and then sail it back to Hawaii. I feel that if we have got zero leads on an S&R company or someone who can help us with salvage to retrieve it on the Japanese side. So if you guys know of anybody or any way to do that, that would be extremely helpful, because I'm not sure that the two of us and 2 dogs need to be couch surfing all of our friends' houses when we get back to Honolulu while we wait to find out what's happened to the vessel.
Yeah, the best option I think would be Japan. They might have something out there. We don't have any connections on that side, unfortunately.
Okay.
So a couple more questions on my list here. What was your experience using the equipment on board, as far as the EPIRB and any other emergency equipment? Do you have experience operating that stuff before?
No, I've only tested the EPIRB, and had I known, we would have set it off when we left. I'm really sorry about that. Flares suck. Straight up. I mean, they don't last for any period of time, and you fire one and it's gone, you fire the next one and it's gone.
In a blink of an eye.
And the Kaplans that the parachute flares are better than the Kaplans. The Kaplans are useless as far as I'm concerned. And I wish we would have had orange smoke, but I don't know that would have made any difference, because the commander of the Ashland said that he could not even see us until he was within 4 nautical miles, and they were traveling at over 18 knots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so on radar, on the 67 and the 73, we could see the Fun Shin as we came over the horizon. And the closer we got, although, they were painting, we couldn't visually see them. So we saw the 2 blips on radar, but we literally could not get a visual on the Sea Nymph until we were almost on top of them.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And granted, some of that was the swells, cloud cover, things like that, but, I mean, I was really surprised. I mean, a 50-foot sailboat and
6-story mast.
And a 6-story mast, yeah. And visually, I mean, although we were picking up on radar, we visually couldn't see them until we were almost a stone's throw away.
Okay. All right, that's good. Thank you. And I think you kind of answered some of this already, but knowing what you know now, would you have done anything different? I know you said you would have activated your beacon, but is there anything else that you may have done if you were in this situation again?
I would have done the rigging myself. I would have done the radio myself, and you would have never heard of us. I guarantee you, because I rebuilt that hull. And the reason we are alive today is because I did the work on the hull. I did the work on the motor.
Is there anything else pertinent that you think would be helpful for us, or that you would like us to know about everything that's unfolded since May?
I'm at a loss at this moment.
Well, I had a few things then. So I let my bosses know Comthabron 11 and CTS 76, as well as 7th Fleet and PAC Fleet, that you guys are going to conduct this survivor debrief based upon the email that Cap sent to my captain. Are we going to get a summary of what you guys discussed in email or some type of written document? I mean, is there going to be any type of follow-up that we can receive so that we can document the fact that this took place?
We can absolutely send an email. Are you talking about as far as just making sure the rest of your command knows that this took place?
Yes.
Yeah, we can take care of that, Commander. That's not a problem at all. I'll be glad to reach out to everybody and let them know that this happened and how helpful it was.
Yeah. Thank you.
And would it be possible? Do you have email for Jennifer and Tasha? Do you have email that we could possibly get in touch with you, correspondence in the future?
I can forward you their email from my account if you as well as your Battle Watch. Who would you like me to send their emails to?
So it's JRCC Honolulu.
Email it.
Okay, actually, if you've already emailed, that's fine. We'll just get it from him.
Okay, well, I emailed him, so he has my email address, but he doesn't have the ladies, so I'll email him back. What's up?
We have not yet gotten online, and I believe that my Yahoo and Gmail accounts, because we have not gone on to them for the last 6 months, may actually be suspended at the moment.
Okay.
So if you could give us a little bit of time to either reinstitute those accounts or set up new accounts, that would be helpful. I don't want to be preemptive about this. But
yeah, that's a good point. If you want to correspond, you can correspond to me, and then I can print out the emails, and I mean, that's what we have been doing. Any correspondence, I've just been printing it out and giving it to Jennifer so that she can put it in her folder, at least until they can get their accounts reestablished.
Because we're not military, we don't actually have access to their system at the moment.
I understand.
You just tell them. 1 point.
And our SMC, I would like to say something.
Hey, good afternoon, folks, and Captain, Search and Rescue Mission Coordinator on watch right now for the Coast Guard's 14th District. We've had a bunch of people listening into this call as we've been talking to you, so thank you. We appreciate your time. And Jennifer and Tasha, we're glad you're safe. We're very glad that we're able to talk with you today and get this information. It's very helpful for us. Commander, in answer to your question, yes, we'll document. The 14th District Commander will certainly thank the Navy formally for your assistance, and we will be sure to capture that. Captain has been listening to most of this call as well, and so he's fully briefed. Again, we appreciate your time and response today. Captain.
Hey, XO, one thing I want to let you know, I was in a meeting yesterday with Deputy.
Yes, sir.
And he and I spoke at length about your operations out there, and he expressed how pleased he was with your excellent performance and how things went. So you got a BZ also coming from the boss there.
Thank you very much, and we'll be sure to pass that on to the crew.
Thanks a lot, guys. And ladies, I'm really glad you're back and you're safe, and we look forward to your safe return to. You coming back to Honolulu, or are you going back stateside?
No, Honolulu's been home for 10 years.
Here you go then.
And
get home. Aloha.
Well, I would like to say this. We're really proud of each other, because when you see the vessel, you will see 48 linear feet of amsteel holding the spreader to the root and the mast, another 10 feet holding the shroud to the spreader. You'll find a 100-foot half-inch amsteel halyard holding the backstay to the top of the mast, and you'll find 2 jib halyards holding the forestay onto the top of the mast. You'll also find a bunch of other uniquely MacGyver-cobbled pieces in order to keep everything flowing in the forward direction. And I had fun. I would like to do it again with better equipment, and we are We are honored, humbled, and grateful for your assistance.
Well, we're just glad you
MacGyver has nothing on you, ladies.
Yeah, I was going to say, MacGyver ain't got nothing on you. I will ask you this, though. Next time, make sure that you've got that EPIRB with you and you set it off so that we know where to find you, okay?
I hope there is no next time that I need to use it, but if I do, that will be the first thing we go for.
On you. Thanks a lot, ladies. Have a safe trip back. And we're going to have the consulate reach out to you when you get back, and there'll probably be some Coast Guard folks getting in touch with you once you get back to Japan as well, okay?
Oh, and if you want, I will be happy when we get back to talk to the Coast Guard about how with shark attacks, they attack the exact same way both times, and they have a pattern. And if other sailors could recognize that pattern, they'll know what's coming. But it was very distinct, and it was identical in both circumstances.
That's fascinating. We'll definitely want to talk to you when we get back. And the folks in Japan, there are U.S. Coast Guard folks in Japan that'll also probably want to give you a shout when you get back to Japan and you start working with the consul to get yourselves back here. So they will talk to you then, and we will talk to you when you get back, okay?
Aloha.
Okay, aloha. Safe travels.
Thank you. I'll hear from Ashley.
All right, thank you very much.
I have a red nose because I'm just coming off of a flu, and you can hear it in my voice. Clearly, there's a lot we don't know about Ms. Appel's tale. It's my hope that the Sea Nymph is recovered, if nothing else, to not be a hazard to navigation. There may be some data on the GPS in the cockpit that could corroborate their story, which has been called into question by the U.S. Coast Guard and been called into question by their frequent misstatements about facts of their voyage. Expressed interest in attempting to salvage and rescue the boat. I don't know how much effort she's going to put into that, but she definitely was excited by the news that her boat had been found by the Volvo Ocean Racers, and I wish her well, and I hope that she can salvage the vessel, if nothing else to remove it as a hazard from navigation. Much we don't know about her story, that I think from June 26th until she came to Wake Island, and perhaps longer, because I've only verified her story from her departure date, the Mayday call on the 5th to the U.S. Coast Guard, which you heard in the survivor debrief, and then I was able to verify in mid-May she passed by Christmas Island and hailed them, and I was able to verify that on October 2nd, local time, she hailed the U.S. Air Force Base at Wake Island. And then from there, we obviously know that she met up with the Taiwanese fishing vessel on October 24th local time. In the position readings from the 26th to the present has really not been addressed in any interviews that I've heard her do. I've repeatedly asked her to continue her interview, which she cut off after 1 hour, and only getting to where they turned around at the Cook Islands so that she could better explain her voyage, her thinking for why her boat speed slowed to less than 1 knot, and why, instead of sailing back to her home port of Honolulu, after by all accounts was a disastrous voyage, that she decided to turn west downwind and sail at such a slow speed of 1 knot, really only consistent with a boat adrift. So I think there's many questions left in this story. I think always in my mind
has been, to what extent of this is bad judgment and telling some fibs, and then to what extent is that fundamental parts of the voyage cannot be believed. I think if you see in the interview, you can see how critical she is of the Coast Guard rescuers on the 5th when she called the Mayday, that they did not convince her to go back into port. I edited out where she blamed the rigger and the electrician. I edited out at least the names of those 2 individuals. If she wants to name them, she can, but we won't do that at slow boat sailing. And I think she's been critical of a lot of people who helped her. I think her whole campaign on the media has been misguided. That the TV news blew up her story. She had a tremendous platform, and had she only been honest with people, I think if you look at the case of the couple who lost their keel, or if you look at the case of the Tonda Malaika, I think you'll see that the sailing community is very generous to people who make mistakes, but they're less generous to people who lie to them, and lie to them repeatedly. I think the other issue that I think comes out from the survivor debrief, besides getting a plot of their course as Ms. Appel represents it, Ms. Appel promised Coast Guard Honolulu her logs when she arrived in Honolulu. The fact that she has not returned to Hawaii may mean that Coast Guard Honolulu never inspects her logs. And, I've no evidence that they have done any more inspection of her logs than what was orally given on the survivor debrief at the time of this recording. All indications from her Facebook page and the fact that she called me on a Texas number indicates that she is in the Houston area, or in the Texas, at least in Texas, where her family is from. The GPS records were obtained by Alan Block, whom I spoke to before his interview with Ms. Jennifer Appel, and I encouraged him to obtain the GPS records and look at her GPS plot, because I thought her interview with the Today Show was so brazen, and it was certainly something that she would want to get out if it was true, to vindicate her story. And I'm disappointed that it did not prove that she was not there on June 15th. Mr. Block made that file available to anyone in the general public by posting it as a Google document file. The people in the sailing community who are my audience, both on YouTube and Facebook, and so when they have questions about the story, I have questions about the story. I think one of the things that I've disagreed with most commentators, because I think I come from a different experience, but a shared experience with Ms. Appel, that we're both authors, and we know how much or how little authors are paid. And for that reason, I don't think that any person with her experience would be under illusions of riches from writing a book. What I do encourage her to do is that if she feels like she wants to have an unfiltered way of speaking to the public, that she should start her own blog, she should write her own book. Should not do these things for monetary reasons, but if they're monetary motivations, that's fine too. But you don't need to have those if nothing else, just to get your unfiltered story out. And that's what most of the Slowboat Sailing podcast guests have done. That most of their coverage has been through social media. I know of no other sailor on my podcast who's gotten more free media coverage than Ms. Appel. All the rest built their coverage through the great content that they created, like the great content that SV Delos created, like the great content that Sailing Doodles created. It wasn't driven by third-party media. It was driven by their hard work. And there are plenty of sailors out there writing blogs that get far less recognition than any of my guests that do it for the love of it. They do it because they want to tell their story. And I support Ms. Appel. If she wants to tell her story unfiltered, I think she should do it. But what she shouldn't do, and what alienates her from the sailing community and the people who know her story, is to blame others for her failings.
Subscribe to Slowboat Sailing so you can see the round-the-world trip. This episode was brought to you by viewers like you and Mantis Anchors and the Sail Timer Wind Instrument. Support Slowboat Sailing on patreon.com/slowboatsailing.